Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about corms and how you can grow them. I know a couple of you have probably had an alocasia and you found almost like an acorn looking thing either connected or loose in the soil. Now, don't throw it away. It's not dirt, it's not perlite, it's not leca. It's actually technically a little seed from your plant. And this is the way you propagate alocasias. Usually with like philodendrons or monsteras, you'll find a node that you can cut it from. With alocasias, you find the corms, like this. They'll look almost a little bit like an acorn. Now, there's not going to be no leaf, there's no roots. Sometimes if you catch it early on, you'll have already some growth on it, which is perfectly fine. I would suggest you leave it attached because it will have almost like a stem attached to the actual corm of the mother plant. I would suggest you leave it so you don't harm it. You could probably break it off when it's a lot bigger. I did it with one of my plants and I'm trying to see how that works because sometimes its lifespan won't be as long because you cut it off and took off, detached it from the mother plant. Some plants have their own personalities. That's sometimes just how it is. But if you found one loose in the soil and you notice that it already has like a brown outer shell, that means it's ready. If you find a corm and it's white, that means it's not ready. And if you break it, that's fine. You can try to grow it. Sometimes it grows, sometimes it doesn't. I tried to grow a couple that I broke off accidentally. They didn't make it, sadly. They kind of rotted away, which is perfectly fine. I would suggest getting one that has like the brown outer layer. You'll be able to peel off a little bit of that outer layer from the actual corm. But the way to do this, you want to soak it for anywhere from 15 to an hour. No more past an hour because it will rot. I did that and it died. But depending how dirty it is, because it is in the soil, you do want it cleaned off all the dirt, everything on it. Make sure it's clean and peel a little bit with your nail, the outer layer. Now, you don't want to go too deep and actually break it or, hurt the corm, because you can hurt it, kind of like the root system. That's where it grows. You just want to peel a little bit and you'll be able to see it. I think this one does show the best though. You can see a little bit of that white, not too much. You don't have to take off too much, but just enough for the roots to develop. And what you'll want to do, now, there's different options of how to propagate. Like any other plant, you can have it in straight water, perlite, leca, sphagnum moss, whatever works for you, whatever you have success with. Don't be pressured to do it any other way just because someone says, hey, this is the best way. Figure out what works best for you. It doesn't necessarily have to be like your favorite plant influencer. It just works differently for everyone. Now, I have this betta fish container, and I have a few of them in here. As you can tell, they're very tiny, almost no roots, and hardly any water. Keep that in mind when you're growing them. Also, a hole or multiple, whichever you prefer. I have a multiple just to be safe for ventilation. You want to keep it covered for a majority of the time when they're small. And this is where they'll stay. They will develop their roots in here, and you're gonna want to change this weekly. But another really important tip: you're not gonna want these submerged in water. What do I mean? You're not gonna let the water go past the corm, so it's gonna be very little water. And you do want to put this in a bright, sunny area. The sun not directly hitting it, because you will boil your corms. I have had that happen to me, sadly, with a couple of them. I've lost a good amount. But you just want a little bit of water, not a lot, just for the humidity, It's basically like germinating a seed, because that's what it is, technically a seed. Now, here's the thing. You're going to want to leave it in here for a good while. And you're going to clean up weekly, change the water weekly. Stay religious to that. Try to change it every week, if not every 3 days. Don't go past 2 weeks because you will get algae, because you do want this in a sunny spot, but not bright where it's boiling, directly hitting your container. because it will affect how it grows. And you don't have to get a fancy container. You can go to Dollar Tree, get any container, poke holes in it. If you are a child, teen, or still live with your parents, ask your parents to help you, or just let your parents know, don't get in trouble. It's just a container. It's nothing to make a big deal about. But yeah, just make a hole, and you're gonna have it in here for maybe a month. Mine took anywhere from 4 to 5 months, just because I got mine during the fall/winter time. So Alocasia is already going dormant during that time. Sometimes depends, because I have a sunroom, so they were able to kind of grow a bit quicker. Some people have luck of getting roots within a month. It's fine. Don't compare yourself. It's fine. You'll get there. Just make sure to keep it clean and happy and healthy. But back to the steps. You're going to have it in here, and you're going to notice roots are going to develop. A leaf is going to come out. At this time, you can add it in perlite. Just let it sit on top of the perlite. Let the water not cover it, but get somewhere to touching the bottom base, half base of it. I wouldn't suggest sphagnum moss, just because sometimes it does seem to rot my propagations. It could be I have low quality sphagnum moss, because I do get it somewhere really cheap. I think it was Lowe's this time, and it's not the best. It wasn't the best quality. It was really cheap. It was like $5. Never again get high quality sphagnum moss if you are doing this to grow multiple cuttings, or you have staghorns, But I would suggest pure water or perlite or leca. Now leca, it's its own thing. When you purchase leca, you have to clean it with boiling water, and you let it sit overnight. Why do you do this? Is to get out all the dirt and all the gunk from there and clean it. You're gonna want to rinse it at least 2 to 3 times with boiling water, and you're gonna want to let this cool off too before you put it in any of your plants, because you will boil. You will cook your roots. You will cook your plant. You're gonna want to cool it off, and you can just let it sit in the water like this. Now, as you can tell, I have a lot more in this container. That's just because these have longer roots, and they're getting ready to be transferred into soil. So it goes from pure water to leca. I did perlite, but I found that cleaning the algae, throwing out perlite 24/7, that wasn't my thing. So I stuck with water, and I stick with leca. And with leca, it will get algae as well, because you do want the sun to be around it, not direct sun, again, not boiling hot scorching sun, just enough for it to see light. You're gonna boil it again, cool it off. That's how you clean it. You're gonna flush it out. And so this one, actually, I ended up killing it. Hopefully not. I have hope for it. That's why I still have it. But when they are small, their roots will get like this mushy brown, especially if you don't change the water weekly. Fair warning. You're gonna want to change it out weekly, but it will lose its roots, and you're thinking, oh no, I killed it, it's dead, it's gone. It's not gone. As long as you see new growth and it's not completely dead, you're fine. I promise you. I'm sorry, I'm looking at my plant because this one probably died. But it's not dead, I promise you. As long as you see new roots coming in, and you'll be able to tell they're new roots because they're white. They're like super bright, They look more structured. They're more thick. You'll be able to tell a lot easier. With the more earlier roots, they're thin. They're kind of like spider webs almost. But once you transfer this into perlite or leca, once it gets to this stage, you want to wait till it gets a little bit more well established, a little bit bigger. And then you can transfer it to a container. Now, these containers are probably too big. I might have planted them a little too early, but that's fine. They seem to be doing great. These are doing great, but for some reason, my Alocasia poly isn't doing so great, so I might have to rinse these off and put them in water again and kind of start over. Now, if you look at my Alocasia polys, they're not doing so great. You can kind of tell they're browning a little bit, a lot. They don't have new growth. The soil is very dry. Again, my sunroom gets really hot, so the soil dries up super quick. I did not keep these well watered within the first 2 to 3 weeks. You're gonna make sure that when you transfer it into soil, that it's well kept with moisture. You know, it's watered, it's not bone dry. That was my mistake. And another thing you can actually do when you transfer it into soil, get hormone rooting powder. This will be your best friend. You don't have to get this one. This is a new one for me because I couldn't find the one that I usually use. Usually the one that I get is on Amazon. It's like 2 for $5. This one was a little bit more expensive. It was $6 for just this. You can try Amazon. They have a bunch of stuff on there. But it helps with the roots. I have put this on my snake plants that I have overwatered somehow, but it does help. It's gonna take a while, but you just gotta be patient. But if you notice that they start getting like this, that means it's either gone or you can try. I'm gonna try to rinse these off and give it a little bit of hope and then try again to put it into soil. But don't worry, it's a learning experience. You know, plants die sometimes, so don't beat yourself up if you do get one that doesn't make it. It's perfectly fine. It happens. But when you notice that they get, bigger and roots are coming out from the bottom and it has new growth, that's a beautiful sign that you're doing a great job. As you can tell, that one's getting a little baby. Now, I'm not keeping these. I'm actually selling these for fairly cheap online just because I have too many. I might keep one because I do have more growing in here. I will say I will put the name of it, but my Alocasia, the big one, the mother plant, she produced so many corms. I think I've found about like 10 in each pot because I have 2. So I produced a lot. I lost a lot. That's fine. It's plants, guys. It happens. But yeah, I mean, it's fairly simple. You just put it in one container for a little bit, keep it clean, change out water, transfer it into a different container. You don't have to keep it covered all the time. When you're in that first stage, you want to make sure it's covered though. You want to keep it covered for humidity. But once it starts getting this big, you're perfectly fine to not keep it covered. It's up to you and how your corm is growing. And I would wait. Again, just wait till the roots are at least 2 inches long. Trust me, you don't want to start all over, lose a corm. Trust me, just make sure the roots are well established. Because if I were to pot this now, it might not make it. It might not make it. Just because there's not that many roots. It's not that long. It's doing great. It's healthy. It's shooting out a new leaf as well. But this leaf, also, you're going to see a lot of leaves die. That is perfectly fine. That just means it's pushing out for new growth. It's using that energy. That's perfectly fine. Don't worry about that. So you will lose some leaves as it matures. That's perfectly fine. Don't get scared. Again, as long as you see new growth. So yeah, just very few easy steps. It's honestly really simple. If you have any questions, just comment down below. It's not a long video. It's very straightforward. It's more kind of just keeping a consistency with your corms and not transferring them into soil very early on. When you do get to this point, you want to fertilize it with the slow releasing fertilizer. You don't want to put too much because that will hurt it. Again, with any other plant, don't put too much fertilizer. It will start to yellow. This one is starting to yellow because it's starting to push out a new leaf. It won't always happen. For me, that's always been the case. I always get a yellow leaf when I get new growth. At least for most of my plants, even the well-established big ones. You can probably see a few yellow ones back there. That's fine. You don't have to cut it off. Let the plant use that energy, and then once it gets brown, you can just take it off so it doesn't go into the soil. But thank you for watching. If you have any questions, please comment down below. I'm going to put my Instagram. I'm going to put my TikTok. I did post a shorter version on TikTok, so you could probably look at that. This just talks more in depth. And again, spider mites are really common with alocasias. Before you go, I put this on one of mine on accident, in the water when I was actually cleaning my other leaves, because I do have spider mites and fungus gnats. I dropped it in the water and I killed them, so please be careful with anything. Even hydrogen peroxide, you don't want to put too much. It is safe for your plants, but just be careful when you're dealing with pests. But yeah, that's about it. Thank you guys for watching. Bye.